And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Book Talk Live here on Instagram and YouTube. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Have another great segment coming up for you guys today, so glad you all could be with us. If you guys are new to us here at Book Talk Live, this is a show that is all about books. I have the pleasure of speaking with great authors about the storytelling process for them, what it's been like for them to share their messages in books, and of course, let you guys know how to stay connected with them. There is our special guest. Hello to you, Herschel. Good to be able to see you. We have Dr. Teresa A. Smith, or Dr.TAS as we know her, here to talk about her book journey, what it's been like for her to share her message in books. And she has a special book that's a little different for her that's coming out this month. Dr. TAS, how we doing?
I'm great, Cyrus. How are you?
Doing really good. This is our first time being able to chat since I've had to start a new channel here on Instagram. So glad to have you with us. Always a pleasure catching up with you. We have a lot to talk about, including, as I mentioned, you were, as we're also celebrating National Book Month this month, you're going to be celebrating a brand new book this month as well. We're going to get into that. So let's start off by talking about how this all began for you, Tosh. For those who were just, hey, Knowledge, good to be able to see you. How this all began for you. It all began with this little book right here. This is how I met Dr. Teresa A. Smith, is with this book. She has hers, too, Stronger. Now, there's so much we can say, Tosh, about your writing journey since this book, since your actual journey since this book. But I want to talk about, because you have the book there, I want you to look at that book and tell me, how does that feel to know that all of this began with you sharing this message?
Cyrus, it's heartwarming. I've been going through so many phases of emotions today. Grateful, thankful, unbelief, to think that my desire to share a story or to share my life experiences. I've had this desire, guys, since I was like a little girl. And it's like, I knew I was going to write a book, but to think that I finally wrote my book, and then from this one book, I've written 3 or 4 books. And then I lose count. I have to look at, what do you have here? And it's like, you've written this, and then I've kind of branched out in so many different ways, because I'll be honest, I always wanted to help other people. And I thought if I could write this book to help people to understand, and I called it self-esteem when I was a little girl, guys. It was about self-esteem, to help people know that it didn't matter what happened, you can still be okay. I didn't think that that one idea would then blossom into all of these different pieces. So for me, Stronger will always, because it's my story too, but it will always have a special place in my heart. Special place.
One of the questions, Knowledge says, beautiful book cover. It really is, Knowledge. And as she mentioned, she's written a few now. So she has an S on that book. And then we'll also have what's the book about. So this particular book, this is how I actually was introduced to Ties, was with this book. She shares her own story of going through some really difficult challenges, abuse, things with her health, and how she was able to come out of it all stronger. So I want to ask you this message then, Ties, because you have written From Bravery to Victory since then. You then wrote Transformation. Now you have your 4th book getting ready to come out this month. Could you have imagined, though, even though being an author was something you wanted to do, could you have imagined that you would be writing what you're writing today?
No, because I'm a voracious reader. And so I've been reading Harlequin romances, Rebecca Sunny book form, Hardy Boys, comic books, and all the romance novels. I've been reading forever, and also got to say suspense, Mosley and Valerie Wilson West. I'm messing her name up, but I read everything. And it's like, I thought I was going to write fiction.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yes, because I love it. So for me to write this, it's like, okay, I'm writing, but it's so far removed from what I love to read. And so, no, I never thought that I would be writing in this genre. To be quite honest, I've started a book that's fiction, but, still got a lot of work to do. That's not how I see the world for some reason.
Yeah, but you did mention about being able to help other people, and you definitely have been able to do that. I have always felt like, Ties, when people share their own message, that is a way for for people to know that they're not alone in what they're dealing with, but also to remind people of what they can overcome. Has that been one of the benefits of you from writing books like Stronger, books like From Bravery to Victory, books like Transformation, that you have been able to show other people what they can do too?
Oh, absolutely, Cyrus. I'm so transparent. As you know, my TAS segment is on the radio. And so I was going back working on some segment pieces. And I'm honest, guys, I must admit, it hadn't been that long ago either, probably last month. I was feeling down. And it was amazing to me to hear the messages that I post every morning, because I don't always read, I don't always show the book, guys, when I open it up or either book, but sometimes I do, and I'll have a message there. Well, when I started downloading all of that audio, and it was a lot of audio, guys, I don't know if I was 30 messages in or 50 messages in, but I realized I felt better. Mm. If that makes any sense. I felt better because, and I'm doing this I'm listening to it, but then I'm downloading, I'm saving, I'm going to the next one. And then I realized, okay, you're feeling better. And then I thought to myself, oh my God, I know that when I write, and I do my messages in the mornings, I know it's not for me only, but to then go back and to hear it, and I was the only audience. I could see how it really is for me, because I know it's for me when I get it, but I can see the impact of it. And so it's like, oh, you thought you were going to do one type of writing, but you're doing a different type of writing. And that writing is really helping people. And I've had some folks say this to me in the last 24 hours, I love your coaching, your daily coaching. Well, again, I'm doing it because it comes from God and it comes through me. But to hear from someone that, oh, this is making a difference in their life, that's the reason I do this. And this is the reason I get stressed out, guys, trying to make sure things are correct. Because for me, it is a mantle that I have to carry. And when you know that what you're doing could potentially impact someone for the positive or the negative, you have to be very intentional about it.
Yeah. Such a great point. And you also mentioned something, Taj, that I think it bears to talk about a bit, and that is, I, like you, I'm sharing messages from my book literally daily, and I'll read some and I'll smile and think, well, I'm still working on that myself. Yes, sir. Cyrus, yes. You need to go back. You need to go back and revisit that one for you. And it goes to, I think, a point that all of us need to remember, Taj. You are an author, you're a motivational speaker, you are a coach, but that does not mean that you don't need motivating, that you don't need to be coached too, that you don't have to be reminded. So what has that been like for you? It kind of goes into your third book, Transformation, remembering that it is a continual process. So how important has that been for you to know and to share that, yes, you are where you are, but you are still a work in progress yourself?
Cyrus, I think it's so important because, even though I talk about don't use anybody else's barometer to measure your success or measure where you are in life. Yeah, it's right. So important because, unfortunately, we kind of live in a world where people are always comparing us to someone else, and we unintentionally do it sometimes ourselves. Right. And so for me, with transformation, I really harp on the fact that it is a continuous process. The last transformation, guys, is going to be when we transition to life after death. Because we're human beings, so we're always transforming. And once you can get that concept, I think then we're kinder to ourselves, because that means we're going to fall sometimes. We're going to have bumps in the roads. We're going to have setbacks, but then we keep moving forward. And I was speaking with someone last night, I think it was, and they were saying, isn't it you that talks about wallowing? I said, I think I talk about it. I don't know if I told you that recently, but basically my thing is this: you have a mishap. You're going to feel some kind of way. You're going to be sad. Live that, because you have to also be true to yourself in order to move forward. The thing is, you don't pitch a tent there. Don't erect your house there, because if you erect your house there, then you don't continue to transform. So once you understand that things are going to go well some days are going to go extremely well. And then there are going to be days where they're not going to go as well, but that's part of the process. Understand it, enjoy all emotions. Even the ones emotions that don't make us feel so good, you still need to enjoy them, because only through enjoying them do you grow. Because not only are we growing as far as things that we acquire, because people can see that readily, but we have to grow from an emotional stance, because the worst thing in life is to gain everything that you want. Let me go to the Bible before I say it in a different way. Man to gain the whole world and lose his soul.
Yeah.
Let me break that down into everyday 21st century language. The worst thing is to gain everything that you want in life and don't have the temperament, don't have the emotional intelligence to manage it.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to have to find something else to help you manage it. And what you might find may not be a good thing for you. So learn your lesson in stages. And then once you get what you want, or you think you want, hopefully it's what you need, not what you want, you'll be able to then manage that versus it managing you.
Such a great point. For those who are just tuning in, you're watching Book Talk Live here on Instagram and YouTube. My guest is Dr. Theresa Smith. As you can tell, she's been here before. She's dropping all kinds of great knowledge. She's joining us, though, as we're celebrating National Book Month this month. And I had to kick it off with her first book, Stronger. So you guys definitely, we're going to let you guys know how to stay connected with TAS, because Knowledge says book 3 has to catch up. Actually, Knowledge, we're talking about book 4 today, too. Book 4 is coming soon. Too, but it's a different type of book. But before we get into that, Todd, because October is also recognized among a lot of things. There's a lot of being recognized: breast cancer awareness, it's domestic violence awareness, but it's also National Cookbook Month, which leads us to something you guys probably have seen Todd doing, and that is cooking. So, Todd, we've talked about you inspiring people, writing books. How in the world did we get to cooking on your channel? How did that happen?
Cyrus, I've been making cornbread from scratch since I was a little girl. And, if I go into my Southern Belle, guys, don't y'all think, what is she doing? Because, I'm Southern. And so I have been cooking. And to be quite honest, as Cyrus alluded to in Stronger, I lost my sight when I was a little girl. But more recently, I was diagnosed with Graves' disease. And so before the diagnosis, I lost weight. Then after the diagnosis and treatment, I gained weight, and we could not stop that. And so ultimately, my endocrinologist said, okay, what about sleeve surgery? And I said, have you had success with your patient? She said, yes. Long story short, then I had the sleeve surgery. But, even with metabolic surgery, folks think that it's a panacea. It's not. You still have to transform your life in order to maintain the weight loss. And so what I've done is I love cooking. And I've had to force myself to eat, because I wasn't one of those people who just ate. I never was. So now I have to really think about protein with everything that I eat, because we have to eat our protein first. And so since I love to cook, it's like, and you're Southern, and I'm Southern Belle. So I'm like, well, why not share this with other people? Because the way I eat, and even just the thought process that I use, it's beneficial for people who may suffer with high blood pressure, who may be diabetic. So it's all about how you transform your relationship with food. And so I started cooking live on Instagram, TAS in the Kitchen. And so from there, that love of just being out, talking about food and all those sorts of things kind of merged then with my show, Transform with TAS. So you have me cooking, and then you have me interviewing folks. And so that's how we got to where we are today with my next book that's coming out.
That's right, Transform with TAS. So I want to talk about that, TAS, because a couple of things you mentioned I think are important. And we talk about this a lot when I'm coaching people when it comes to branding and marketing, because TAS and I had these conversations, and I thought to myself, you know what, TAS, this is part of your story. Food is part of your story. How you cook is part of your story. So you brought people into your story, but Stronger, you need to bring them into. And so, TAS, what has it been like for you to see the way people have connected with you on that level when it comes to the cooking aspect and that relationship with food and how you've had to change that?
Cyrus, it's really funny in a funny sort of way. That's probably not the right word. It's really rewarding.
Okay.
In an odd sort of way, because I worked in medicine. I went to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And so I had a little job. I didn't have work set. I had a job, and I worked on the research unit at the hospital starting, I think, my sophomore year. But regardless, I worked there. And then from there, I worked in the hospital on the children's wing of psychiatry, and then I worked in the medicine clinics. Well, my mom's family, they knew I worked in medicine. And so they would always ask me questions, and I would advise them, and I advise people now. So recently, I did a post in the kitchen around gut, meaning colonoscopy, colon and colon cancer. And so there was a person that responded to the post and said, you know, basically this has been going on with their daughter, da 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 da. They tried this, they tried that. Do you think it's time for me to see a specialist? And what I said to the person, I would recommend that you do because of what they've already done. And so for me at this point, it's almost like Bishop Noel Jones did a sermon years ago. He said, God's going to make you laugh. And he just made me laugh. Because what he has done is he has taken my love of medicine, because I thought either I was going to be a medical doctor or an attorney. He took my love of medicine, my experiences in working in medicine, and then my life experiences, and he put them together. So for me to have people say, well, what do you think about this? I get to do what I have been doing for my family and my friends my whole life. So to me, it's like putting a cherry on an ice cream sundae.
Okay. Are you able to eat ice cream sundaes, Todd?
Yeah, I eat ice cream sundaes. But now there is ice cream. Now there is ice cream that's not protein that my nutritionist tells us that we can eat. We can get it on the stick, don't get the cup. But no, sir.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to check. I like the analogy, but I just wanted to know. Are we gonna see Todd with an ice cream sundae? With a cherry on top. All right, so that leads us, Taz, into Transform with Taz, healthy recipes. Okay, so let's just talk about the full circle moment of this, which is why I kept holding up this book. Because now with book 4, Taz goes back to with herself on the cover. Did you think about that? So she had the second book, From Bravery to Victory. Nope, there was no Taz. The third book was Transformation, no Taz. But now here we see a totally different looking Taz with the new book that's getting ready to come out, Transform with Taz. What is that full circle nature of this been like for you to take two things that you love, writing and cooking, and bring them together in this brand new book coming out this month?
You know, Cyrus, I love working with Cyrus, guys. He just flabbergasts me all the time. Let me tell you, Cyrus, I'm looking at Stronger, guys. And when this was taken, I'm trying to think. I think my weight, either I was on my way down because of the thyroid, or I was on my way back up because I got much smaller than this. And so to see, as you said, full circle, now I'm flabbergasted because I hadn't even realized I was on the cover. I knew I was on the cover, but I hadn't thought about it.
Yeah.
Because now I'm looking at the title of this book, Stronger, How Overcoming Life's Adversities Can Push You into Your Purpose. And like I said, when I think about the fact that people are asking me things that my family asks all the time, and if they don't ask me, guys, you know I'm Southern, I just tell them, this is what you're going to tell the doctor when you go in and you ask them this. It's like, it's pushed me into my purpose. And to see it now lined up that way, I'm at a loss because I didn't see it. I just saw it as this is something I need to do. I didn't see the full circle moment of it. Sorry. So, I'm not often can ask a question. I don't know how to respond to that. I don't know how to respond.
Yeah. So, I mean, because it is interesting, I think. Because again, so let's break this down a little bit. Let me just ask you then, if you hadn't thought about that, what made you decide not to be on the cover of the other two books?
That's a good question, Cyrus. Well, for Transformation, guys, I'm a Trekkie, and I'm also a Marvels person, and I wanted something that, Cyrus, you move so much faster than me. Can you pull up from here to Bravery, from Victory to Bravery?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
You're faster than I am, and the reason I want him to do that, guys, is because, well, I am on that book cover, Cyrus, but I'm not really the center.
The center of the book, yeah.
I'm not the center of the book. Yeah. And with this book here, in my mind's eye, transformation is a process, and it's an ambiguous process. And so with being a Trekkie, I wanted something that was somewhat elusive, somewhat and something that wasn't solid, so
Okay.
that people weren't grabbing a hold to something saying it's got to look like this. And so that's how I came up with this book cover. And if you look at it, you'll see that there's a reflection of transformation there. So you're having to really do some work. And so that's how I came up with this cover.
There it is.
This cover here, thank you, Cyrus, I'm there, but I'm not the center.
Mhm.
So you see the lions. And for me, you got to be brave. And I didn't even think about the color scheme, Cyrus. Didn't think about it until you hold it up. I see the color.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, God is something. I didn't even, it never dawned in on me, the colors. That I still was using this color because for me, the orange, and if I'd been prepping for this, I could tell you what orange symbolizes. But obviously, it's vibrant. And when you look at these colors, you see the orange and the yellow here. So for me, from bravery to victory, it's still becoming. It's
Gotcha.
like, it's almost like Rocky. You're still becoming.
Mhm.
Becoming something,
Right.
becoming braver, you're becoming stronger. Then when it comes to transformation, you understand that there is a process. And so therefore, since I'm still becoming, I don't know what I'm going to be yet. I don't know who I am in totality. So then when we go to the new book, it's like, that's the cookbook, guys. When we go there, it's like, I don't know if you may not be able to see it with mine. You go there,
Yeah.
I am back on the
Yeah.
cover.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, I'm still evolving, guys. Don't get me wrong. But I know who I am.
Mhm.
And I'm ready to celebrate who I am.
All right. All
Because
right,
I mean
Todd.
that.
Celebrate.
I mean
Celebrate it,
that.
then, Todd. I
I
said,
can't
she
do
needs to
nothing.
celebrate.
You can't
That's
do
what
nothing
I'm
with
talking
me.
about. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Todd, it is truly great to watch. So let's go back to how we began this conversation then. Because again, we started out talking about this as National Book Month. What would you say to people then who are looking at you, looking at what you've done? Like I said, this book was my introduction. I would not have known Todd if it was not for this book. This is how we met, was this book here, Stronger. So what would you say to people who are wondering about the beginning? Because it all began here for you as far as the writing. What would you say to them about the beginning and where they need to start now?
If you're wanting to be an author, pick up the pen. I'm old school. Pick up the pencil, pick up your iPad, whatever it is, your phone, and just start.
Mhm.
Because it's never going to be a perfect time to begin this journey. You know, what I was doing when I wanted to write a book, probably 30 years before I actually wrote that book. But
Oh,
then I
wow.
found, yeah, because I've been writing that book since I was a little girl. And that book came out in 2017, I think it was. So, I'm young, guys, and thank God that I'm young, and I don't mind each passing year.
Yeah.
But think about the length of time it took me to finally get that book done. And I tell you, Cyrus, I've been doing a lot of research on different stuff that I have. I wrote another book before Stronger, but I haven't
Wow.
published it. And in me doing some different stuff recently, I pulled it up. And after I looked at it, I said, it's ready. But it's not fiction either. It's about my life, but it's different. So it's going to come out at some point. And the reason I even bring that up, guys, is I just started. I just started with that book and I just started writing, 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 writing. But it's not the book that I released. I went back and I wrote again and I released the book about my life. So don't get distracted. Don't get disheartened. Just write your book, your narrative. It's yours. It's your experiences. Get it out. And if it's not a book about your life, if you're a fiction writer, just write it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what's going to happen 5 years from now, because I'm going to tell you, when I wrote Stronger, if you told me that I would be, cooking live on Instagram and then doing a cookbook, I would have said no, because that was never something that I thought I was going to do. I love to cook, love a cookbook. That's my relaxation. But I didn't think I was going to write a cookbook. So my thing is just start. And the other thing that I would say is don't worry about the mechanics, because sometimes we like, oh, it's got to be perfect. fix the mechanics after you've written the book.
Yeah.
Write the book, because if you get hung up on the mechanics, you may not write your book.
Yeah.
And you spend years working on the book when you could have written the book in 6 months, but you're trying to get all the sentences, correctly structured and this and that. So no, just start the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, knowledge is just put it out there, and that's it. And one of my mentors that I follow online, Sean Cannell, TAS, said it best: "Done is better than perfect." And I
Yes.
think it'll never be perfect anyway. I have New York Times bestsellers that come on my show and say, "Yes, my book has typos. Yes, this is going on. Yes, that's it's not perfect." And I think that's the thing, we try to attain something that cannot be, but we also use it as a crutch to not do it. You know what I'm saying?
Do it. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think that's a great thing. I want to show mine too. I have mine on mine too.
Okay.
But you all will be able to get it very soon as well. Transform with TAS, healthy recipes. You guys see it there. Look at her. Look at TAS. Look, you look so cute. You look so cute. You look cute.
Yeah, this is how we go on when we're not live.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. I gotta come back. I slipped for a second. I slipped. But Todd, it is always great catching up with you again, everyone. In the interim, before Transform with TAS Healthy Recipes comes out, you all can get stronger. You can get From Bravery to Victory. You can get Transformation, all on Amazon. But TAS, how can they stay connected with you and all the great things going on with you?
Well, the simplest way, because I'm learning simplicity is important. The simplest thing is to follow me on IG, and in my little bio is that LinkedIn tree. Click on that and you can find me everywhere. Everything that I'm doing, I put it there, and that's the easiest way to keep up with me.
There you go. Love it. Love it. Again, everyone, Dr. Teresa A. Smith, Dr. TAS is what I call her. Even in regular conversation, TAS is what I call her. It's a lot simpler for me, too. It's less syllables. But just Dr. TAS, that's what I call it. I'm about to get to Dr. T, but it's the same amount of syllables. I can still do TAS. TAS, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for stopping by, and looking forward to our next chat together.
Thank you so much, Cyrus. And thank you, everyone, for joining us.
And we thank you all for watching this episode of Book Talk Live here on Instagram and on YouTube. If you guys did come in late, missed part of the broadcast, you know where to find it. Also, make sure you guys are staying connected with Dr. TAS and also us here, especially on Instagram at Cyrus Webb Reviews. We have more shows like this, as well as other programming as well. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.